we're chasing the other big game critter in the West. We're going archery elk hunting next on the Journal. From the north, south, east, and west, from the woodland and plains and waterways, come challenges and thrills and excitement for every member of the wilderness family. These are our stories, our adventures from the wild places, both near and far. All of our hits and misses, the memories, our time spent living the wild life. Join us. Come past the streetlights. Step into the real world. The world of the Wilderness Journal. The Journal is underwritten by
your Cadillac area Kubota dealer, the Ina Store, with a full line of Kubota tractors, including the L2501 Compact and the Kubota RTV X850 Utility Series. The Ina Store in beautiful downtown Ina, Michigan. And by Mads Outdoor Products, a full-line Avalon dealer. Mads also features Featherlight trailers, livestock stalls and chutes, as well as boat, dock, and lift packages. Mads Outdoor Products, in the center of it all, Harrison and Cadillac, Michigan. And by
with over a century of experience in the Indiana and Michigan area, Reith Riley is a full-service asphalt paving company handling commercial, industrial, and privately owned paving projects of all sizes. To learn more about Reith Riley,
and by J&J Smoked Meats, makers of ready-to-go, high-protein, low-sugar snacks. At home, or the game, anywhere, and everywhere. J&J Smoked Meat Snacks.
And by viewers like you. Thank you. Hi, friends, and welcome. Today, part 2, as promised, of our Western Swing. We're going to take you back out to Meeker, Colorado, back out to archery hunt the Rocky Mountains with our good friends, the Sheltons, out at Shelton Ranch Outfitter. Pete and Judy, Paul, Susan, Colby. We go out there and they are so nice. We have so much fun. And if you saw the first part of this, you saw the archery mule deer hunt we did out there. Cobe, my ace guide, and I got on a buck that was awesome. And if you didn't see it, here's just a little bit of the end of it. There they were, finally below us, not too far, about 75 yards. Unfortunately, at least one of them had already spotted us. All I could do now was carefully work down whenever he put his head down and try to get close enough so I could get an arrow in that big boy. Friends, this is the stuff that makes your blood run. If you're a deer hunter, an archer, if you have ever stalked something, this is what it's about. This is how it feels to be a predator. Then, just as I got to the base of the rock where I would be within range, yeah, they got a little nervous and started heading up the mountain again. They weren't running. It wasn't over. Not until I realized that there was nowhere else to go. It was open flat above us. Surely they'd see us. All we could do was just stand there and watch them slowly feeding their way up the mountain. They were right there. But still just barely out of reach, at least for this old archer. Well, we got close. Closest we were was 74 yards. I don't shoot that far. No, I didn't fill my deer tag, but friends, What a place. What an awesome buck. We had such a great time. I did really need just that 25 or so more yards. I'm just not comfortable shooting at deer-sized critters that far away still. That hunt was every bit as exciting and fulfilling as I'd hoped before I ever left, and we weren't done yet. We were headed up Pete's Mountain next. We were going to try to find an archery bull elk, and I was really kind of hoping to do the same thing, find one big old good one and then see could we hang our tag on that. Hey, I'm your host, Kyle Randall. This is my Wilderness Journal, and we're headed up Pete's Mountain looking for archery elk right now. That first morning I could hear elk above me, but so far the only thing that had come to my calling was this calf. He stood there looking around for the other elk, and then he heard some real other elk, just like I did, and that was all it took. Little calf. Must have got separated. I could hear some more of them. I had definitely heard more elk, but that calf, well, that's the only thing that came to my calls. But later that evening, just before dark, I was watching down in the valley and there was a whole herd of elk coming down the draw. It was almost too dark, but I could see there was at least one good bull in this bunch, maybe a couple. I sat there thinking there's no way they're going to make it all the way down here to me. Still, we were on the elk, and that's the first step. I hadn't seen a giant bull yet, but we were definitely on a good herd. And then a bugle way up on the hill, silhouetted in the failing sun, a huge bull. Even at this distance, I could tell that's the kind of elk I was hoping to find. That was definitely the kind of bull I was hoping to get on, but unfortunately, it would be long after dark before he got down to where we were set up. The next morning, though, I did take a cue from what I'd seen. Yeah, I went higher. After calling down in the flats just after daylight, I started moving up the mountain. My plan was to move higher and higher and try to get in front of the critters, and I did. Kind of. Unfortunately, the critters I got in front of were some antelope. Now, there was a pretty nice buck in this little group, but the problem with that was I didn't have an antelope tag, and yeah, I was kind of looking for elk. Wrong critter. Nice buck, though. Nice buck. Unfortunately, I didn't see any until right at last light when I heard a bull squeal a little bit, and there's a bull down there, small one. There was a satellite bull working his way in. I chirped at him a little bit, hoping he'd come my way. I didn't think he was the critter I was looking for, but unfortunately, whatever I said wasn't what he wanted to hear, because he just turned and walked away. I don't know where he went. That was a decent young bull, but it wasn't the kind of critter that I had my hopes set for. And speaking of critters, just before I left that evening, just as it was getting dark, I was picking up all my stuff, getting ready to leave, and yes, that was the scream of a mountain lion, and no, he wasn't all that far away. But I have to tell you, getting screamed at by a mountain lion in the same canyon you're in isn't nearly as concerning as knowing that when you walk down out of here in the dark, you have to walk right past the carcass of an elk calf that lions had killed and drug into this canyon. Yeah, that was some concerning. And speaking of some concerning, the very next morning as I was walking out in the dark, I somehow managed to sneak right up next to an elk calf, and this one was very much alive, and his mother, yeah, she came charging up in the dark. I couldn't see her, but she was right there, and she wasn't happy. Fortunately, the calf ran to her, and I could just make him out when now there was a bull coming. What appeared to be in the gloom a pretty good bull. It was still well before shooting light, but there were elk all over the place out in front of me. Fortunately, when I finally did get the legal light, there were still elk running around. A pretty nice bull was pushing a group down the field just a little out of my range. I was thinking, yeah, that'd do. Unfortunately, he was going the other way. A few minutes later, I did hear another bull, and then saw one more bull look like a 5x5 coming down the field. This was a nice 5x5, but he just wasn't the critter I was looking for, and to tell the truth, he wasn't sticking around anyway. Well, not getting stomped to death by a cow elk was a good thing, at least in my book. And there had been a couple of pretty nice bulls in that field in the semi-darkness, still by legal shooting light. Only that 5x5 was anywheres close enough to take a run at, and I'd already decided I wasn't going to chase him. I was going to wait for something bigger. I did stick around and do a little more calling though, and I should tell you, I did manage to call up one more bull. A little after full daylight, this spike bull came to my calling. He just popped up over the hill in the high field and started working down toward me. Now, obviously, this isn't a shooter either, but like I've said many times, you never know who or what else is watching and listening. As he trotted down through the sage and made a beeline right straight to me, I could see this youngster was a spike with one eye guard. Someday a future lord of the mountain, but for right now, yeah, he was just good entertainment, especially when he came up right along my right side. And then he turned and came back around in front of me, ran out in the field, stopped, stared, sniffed. I think he just couldn't figure out where did that elk I heard go off to.
a smaller 4 or 5 point, and one group went up behind us in the dark. You just hear them. We were surrounded by elk and couldn't get a shot at nothing. It's the way archery elk hunt is, though. No matter how many times I come to the shelves, it always amazes me. It's been pretty tough. It's been pretty hot. But we got them figured out. We just couldn't get close enough for a shot. We got 1 day left. But however it works out, it's been exciting. It's always exciting.
It had been a thoroughly entertaining and exciting week. I even found a pretty nice elk shed on the way down that morning. Just a little icing on what had already been a great trip. And I also remember thinking, I still got a couple hours in the morning, it ain't over. Not yet. That shed was just about the same size as the 5x5 I'd seen earlier in the field. Still, I had to decide where was I going to hunt. I only had a couple hours the following morning, our last day. And friends, yeah, with all that activity and all the elk we'd seen down there on Granddad's, it was pretty easy to decide. I was headed right back up Pete's Mountain. And by gray light the next morning, I was staring at half the elk in northwest Colorado. And on top of that monster bull, the one I'd seen a couple of days ago, was pushing them around. Friends, this is exactly what I was hoping to see, with one small exception. Yeah, there was like 50, 70, I don't know, I didn't count them, cows and calves in between me and him. Now I needed to somehow figure out, can I get him to come down here, and then can I get past all those ears and noses and get a shot at this bull, and can I do it all in the next 2 hours? I was calling to 'em, first like a separated calf and then a cow or two, and I could get 'em to look my way. They were out about 200, 250 yards, and I needed 'em to decide to come down the hill and water, or at least come across and feed in this field I was sitting above. And then, slowly, the big boy started working right down toward me. He was coming down the hill, pushing his cows. I still didn't know how I was going to get past all those cows and calves, but at least they were headed in the right direction. I watched as he lorded over 'em, rounding 'em up and moving 'em, pushing off the satellite bulls. This is what it is to be elk hunting. This is what it looks like. And to have a bull like that right out in front of you, well, let's just say nobody has to nudge you to keep you away. I watched as they slowly worked down the ridge in front of me. My plan B was to let them go over that, and then to scurry up the back way, get on top of the saddle where they normally cross, and see could I cut them off before they got there. I was in the last couple hours. This was it. I needed something to break my way, and I was finally going to get my chance. There were elk strung all the way across that ridge top now, all the way from Pete's fire tower, all the way up into the sage, headed for the saddle. The only thing they weren't doing at the moment was, coming down toward me. I definitely had 'em talking to me. I just didn't have 'em coming to me. So I decided after a couple of more cow calls, I'd try bugling at him. And he screamed right back at me. Unfortunately, the cows he was following up into the sage encountered something, saw or smelled something up there, because as I watched, they all turned and took off running right back the way they'd come. It definitely wasn't me 250 yards away. There was something up there, and it was something they didn't like.
Last morning, and something spooked him. There's a lion up there, or some coyote, something, I don't know. Doesn't matter. They're gone, and this is it. We got to pack up. Tina and I are going to be on the road in less than an hour. But I wouldn't have traded this week. Friends, when I left home, I made up my mind that I was going to come out here and try for the very best I could find. And to say that we found them, that'd be quite an understatement. We were on the biggest mule deer buck I've seen in 20 years, and we were on him 3 times. We got to within 75 yards twice. I just couldn't close that critical distance. And then to finally find a monster bull like that one, I had him in the dark down here by me. They were within 20 yards. They were right there, but it was still pitch black. They worked their way up on that hill, and you heard I tried to coax them down. But when that bull, he had 50, 80 girls up there with him and a bunch of satellite bulls. Me chirping in the bush just wasn't enough, and there really wasn't any way to get out and around. I was waiting for him to get over that hill. Then maybe I could get up in front of him, but as you saw, something spooked him still. I wouldn't have traded this hunt for nothing. And I'm not crazy. I know there's a lot more years behind me now than there are in front of me. And the number of years that I have to continue going up these mountains, well, that number's even a little less. So when you set your sights to do something that, who knows, you may not ever get a chance to do again, that's the bull of a lifetime. And that's exactly what I was after. Same with that muley buck. When you get to my age, things look a little different. It's not about the number anymore. It's not even about the trophy. It's about that chance, that opportunity. And I thank everybody here at Shelton's, Pete and Judy and Paul and Susan, certainly my ace guide, Derek Colby. He helped me out so much. Friends, this place has it. You've seen it. I've been coming here for years, and they've still got it. And I just can't thank them enough, and I can't thank the Lord enough for the critters that he creates and the fun and the challenge that I have chasing them. One man out here by himself in all of this, it's just amazing. And I really wouldn't trade it for nothing. If you get the chance, I hope you come out. I hope you hunt the West, and I hope a big old bull or a giant buck pops up over the hill and stares you right in the eye. If he does, you'll know what I'm talking about. It gets the ticker jumping even at my age. It's just one of them things. He's still bugling over there. It's just one of them things. I'm going to get quiet again. Who knows? I got a little time left, about a half hour. Stranger things had happened. And trust me, I believe in miracles.
Thank you again to everybody out at Shelton's. Friends, for information about anything on the Journal, go to wildernessjournal.com. You can even stream previous episodes, just in case you missed one. And to post your picture or join the conversation, don't forget to like us on Facebook. The Journal is underwritten by
your Northern Michigan Case and Case IH dealer, the Ina Store, with sales and service for Case construction equipment at their Bridgeport location, and both Case IH Farm and Case construction equipment at their up north location in beautiful downtown Ina, Michigan. And by Mads Outdoor Products, a full-line Avalon dealer. Mads also features Featherlight trailers, livestock stalls and chutes, as well as boat, dock, and lift packages. Mads Outdoor Products, in the center of it all, Harrison and Cadillac, Michigan. And by
Quality starts at the quarries and the pits. To ensure every project exceeds specifications, Reith Riley is a pre-qualified aggregate producer and operates several full-scale and state-certified aggregate mines. To learn more about Reith Riley,
By J&J Smoked Meats, makers of ready-to-go, high-protein, low-sugar snacks. At home, or the game, anywhere, and everywhere. J&J Smoked Meat Snacks. Captioning provided by Woodland Taxidermy, a full-line taxidermy and rug service in Paris, Michigan.
Thank you again, my friends, for joining me, for becoming part of the Wilderness Journal family. A family that knows the wilderness is wherever and however you find it. And please, let our adventures serve as an encouragement. Step off the end of the asphalt. Head to the fields and forests and waterways. Put your own hands on your own food. Come out and see what free range really means. And be you 8, 18, or 80, man, woman, or child, know that there is opportunity and excitement enough for all, and all can be, for a time at least, wild. This is where we belong. It is our birthright, the legacy of our grandfathers. This is our first home. And friends, rest assured that until we see you again, be it out there somewhere or right back here, we'll keep your place at the fire and the lantern lit.